hard to find non-sporting people to name almost one member of the England side. And somebody has joined us here in the studio who can take, if not a major responsibility for this, at least he can claim some, because David English is with us. Now, David English, in days gone by, manager of the Bee Gees, Eric Clapton, and great luminaries of the rock and pop world. But you're also involved, David, with the Bunbury Cricket Club, the tie you're wearing proudly there. And the Bunburys have been an organisation to encourage young people to play cricket throughout the years. And you have an under-15 cricket festival, which I think I'm right in saying that only 3 of this current England team haven't played in over the years.
Over the years, John, 95% of all the Test players have come through the Bunbury Festival. The only 3 that didn't come through was KP, Straussy and Geraint Jones, who's Papua New Guinea and whatever. But all the others I've known since they were 15. And I'm very proud to see them all blossom together. What's happened, John? They've got a great... There's a band of brothers. Dickie would tell you about this. Yeah. And they've all grown together, and this is their golden time. And to see it all fulfilled in one kind of glorious summer is fantastic. But also I can tell you who the next England team will be. I can tell you who the next England team will be. So I see them all when they're 15.
If you saw Flintoff when he was 15,
yes,
could you tell then that he was going to be this?
You can tell, first of all, he's a first-class person, gentle spirit, team man, cared about the team more than himself. 1992, Charterhouse School, was Andrew Flintoff, Liam Botham, Ben Hollyoake, David Sales, Gareth Batty, Alex Tudor, and you could tell then that he was tall and thin, Freddie, and he used to run in and bowl. And in those days, if Dickie was umpiring and they actually kind of made an appeal and it was not out, straight back to the mark. No, none of this, like that. 1919, Michael Vaughan, Oundle School. 1991, Marcus Trescothick, Paul Collingwood, and Phil Neville, the Manchester United football. That was at Bromsgrove. And Freddie Flintoff, to this day, would tell you that Phil Neville was the best schoolboy cricketer he ever saw. So I see them all, John. I can tell you everything you want to know about them all.
So if you've seen the next generation of England cricketers,
yes,
are you optimistic about that?
Superb. There's a guy called Billy Godleman of Middlesex, watch him. Stuart Meeker, who's just signed for Surrey. They're all about 16 now, and there is a young Freddie Flintoff already in the making. This guy, Stuart Meeker, coming up. So it's very exciting, John. You know, because what it is, the Bunbury's like a little factory, and I will then put them on the conveyor belt. They will then go to the England under-19s, they will go to the academy, and then they'll go to Dickie, who will umpire them into the professional game. But I'm happy just to be the dad. And when they arrive, they'll all say, hello, Sam, how are you? Because I know, and we all keep in touch still, you know.
I don't know if you were able to listen earlier on, David, but we had Stephen Fry with us.
Yes.
You've known the Flintoffs of this world for a decade and more now, and we were talking, saying that one of the key factors here is once you suddenly find yourself changing from your position in society from being a sportsman to a celebrity sportsman, other factors come into play as well, and you have to keep a very level head about you. I mean, especially having coming from the rock world, that's kind of your background. What advice would you be offering these guys now, as suddenly they find themselves propelled into a different kind of limelight?
Well, John, temptation is all around. Kevin, I'd have a word with them about the haircut. When you put a haircut, put a skunk on your head. If you've got a polecat in your head, you're asking for the media
asking for trouble.
To give you a bit of a
You used to, didn't you? And you decided that was a better
no, that was in my younger days.
Yeah, but you know what it is, Mark? It's like saying, look at me, I'm great. Greatness comes from within. When you saw Viv Richards or Gary Sobers, two of the greatest players, let the bat do the talking. Actions speak louder than words. You then come off the field and you are open to temptation. These boys are like a family. They play for each other. They've all got married very early. Notice that, John. There's almost a team ethic. Vaughanie got married to what's her name? Oh, Rachel, what's her name? Nicola. Little baby Tallulah. Freddie's got Rachel and Holly. So there's a little thing in the dressing room. They've all got. Now that does ground you a bit, Mark.
It's true. They have got personality. This team. You can't.
I remember Michael Vaughan from being a youngster and Flintoff. I think they'll be able to carry it, John. All the celebrity, they'll be able to carry it.
Hang on a second. We're talking about Michael Vaughan, and he's on the bus now.
Well, Michael, first things first, your reaction to the scenes here.
No, this is incredible. It's very hard to describe what the emotions are. To see a turnout like this for cricket just really shows what the summer's been all about, and to win back the Ashes is something that we've been trying to do for a long time. This team's managed to do it by a lot of hard work and, you know, a lot of skill. This is fantastic. I mean, it's hard to say what it means.
You turn the corner and the wall of sound hit you and it's just not stopped.
No, and they're hanging out of the offices. They're on the roofs. This is something very special, something that we'll remember for a long, long time.
Well, I'd like to say that the sunglasses are entirely due to the fact that the sun's shining, but I suspect that it might have been a late night as well. Don't you think?
Of course it was, of course it was. The thing with English cricket that's changed as well over the last couple of years is the actual crowds.
Yes.
At an English game, it used to be a very polite thing, but over the last couple of years, it's got a momentum up. There's actually support behind the players, and like the atmosphere at the ground over this series has been fantastic.
Why do we have a balmy army when the Australians don't? Aren't you the kind of nation that should have patented that?
Well, we were brought up actually, you know, cheering on our cricketers, you know, Lear Lee. So it was sort of part of our upbringing. The English crowd there had to be an element of that to excite the rest of people to. Not a hooligan element or so much, but just to give that football atmosphere that the English do so well.
But you know, John, going back to the youngsters, what David brings along, we must keep this interest going among the youngsters. This is important. Cricket now is up there. It's the youngsters who are the future.
Yeah,
We've got to keep them interested, John. We must.
And winning breeds winners,
them.
you see, John. The whole country's gone mad, euphoric, right? We're in the lean times, when Athers and Nasser, those boys there, all playing hard and getting seriously beaten. That's when you need some support. Now, Michael Vaughan, here comes Apocalypse Now, just coming in there. Napalm, no, but Vaughan, he was always dignified. They're just slightly more adult versions, Marcus, but they were. He always had a collar up, tall, dignified. But going back to Kevin Peterson or whatever, self-belief is everything. Now, Dickie Vitelli, he got dropped first ball yesterday, or second ball. We may not have been sitting on this bus.
Not if Warnie had taken that catch.
But he had the self-belief to go on and carry on. So you've got to encourage that, but if I was him, let the bat do the talking.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I mean, this time, well, not this time, this time yesterday, actually, we could almost be thinking, hang on a second, is this whole series in doubt? We showed you the best moments from the first test earlier on. In the second test, Dickie's alluded to it already, but the toss was absolutely crucial. I mean, England lost the toss, and but England were pretty determined. They reached 407 first time around, but feeling the pressure, Australia battled on stubbornly. A brave tail-end partnership by Warne and Lee eventually, though, saw England snatch victory from what was the jaws of defeat there, almost, by just 2 runs. The series level, that actually was the closest finish in Ashes history. And Dickie, you mentioned it earlier on, and I don't know whether David would agree with it. Ricky Ponting, in hindsight, will he look back on that decision to put England in as the worst decision of his captaincy?
Well,
yes, I honestly think that Ricky will definitely look back on that decision, and I think it will prey on his mind now for many, many years. I honestly do, because I'm convinced that if he had batted first, batted first, yes, Australia, I honestly think Aussies would have won that test, because I've known all my experience of Edgbaston and all the tests, Ashes series I've done, it gets uneven bounce. And in the latter part of the test, it always turns.
Look what Ian Botham did in 1981.
Yeah, I was there.
Yes,
I was there. Uneven bounce, see.
It's all about John making decisions, though, when the pressure's on.
Well, I'm going to talk about captaincy here. Actually, the voice you heard reappearing now was Stephen Fry.
The great Stephen Fry. Uppingham School.
You went to school?
No, he went to school, but I didn't go to school. He went to school.
All right.
Uppingham School, Leicestershire.
We're going to get into Bunbury in the making, though, Imbers.
What advice would you give Stephen, because who's a very promising young up-and-coming umpire? What advice would you give Stephen about how to carry himself when he's actually on the field of play?
I will say this to him: go out there, mate, and just enjoy it. Enjoy.
I love umpiring, Dickie. I do. It's the best fun in the world.
That's right.
I find time goes quicker umpiring than it did playing.
Yes.
Everyone thinks, God, you must be so boring. 2 innings standing out there. It's the most exciting thing you can do.
But when a bowler bowls and there's a massive great appeal, and maybe you weren't quite concentrating, and they say, "How's that?" Don't you go, "I don't know really."
I replay. I stare down and I get like a film replay in my head. Do you get that?
Yeah, the main thing is concentration.
You have to, don't you?
Concentration, common sense, and consistency. Stick to that.
And also, it's the best view in the house. And if I was running the ECB, I would have an umpire as a selector. Nobody sees the players better than an umpire. He has the best actual view of the field, Steve. So you can tell. So I would say get an umpire selector.
Here's a poignant moment on the route as the bus goes past Australia House. I'm not quite sure how many of the Australian staff are hanging out the windows to cheer, but nonetheless. Actually, Stephen, I don't know. I think it's important, actually. That's Australia House just on the left, which is just going out of shot at the moment. I'm sure another camera angle will pick it up. It's been fascinating during this Test series, Stephen, to see how various umpires give batsmen out. You know, we've had Rudy Kirchner just
Rudy
this
brings his left hand up very
unbelievably slow finger, and we've had this extraordinary crooked finger. I don't know if we have the camera on Stephen's finger at this moment.
That's
how do you give people out when you give people out?
I go up like that.
That's right.
Do you? You're right up.
Straight up.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's how.
That's what you get. That's how.
That's how.
But what about Steve Buckner when he thinks?
Well,
When you're thinking like that and thinking like that, there must be some doubt.
yeah, you feel them.
Well, yeah.
I guess people say the trouble with technology is it'll slow it down. It'll speed it up if it's Buckner.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
It's like the hangman's. How'd you give him out, Dick? How'd you give him out?
I used to, that's out.
That's straight away. Yeah.
Did you
When
say
they
that's out
deliberate,
as well?
that's out.
That's
Yeah.
out. Get off. We're talking about Michael Vaughan because you know him so well. And just to say, 2 years ago, you know, the Rugby World Cup parade here, extraordinary scenes here. Martin Johnson, a remarkable talismanic leader for English rugby, and you can see how important he was by the virtue of the fact how England have declined since he announced his retirement. So Michael Vaughan, what is it? What are the qualities? You've known him since he was 15. What are the qualities that have made Michael Vaughan act as the gel for this team?
The ability to absorb enormous pressure, the ability to get the very best out of the individuals. Think of the Magnificent Seven, the film. You had the gunfighter, Steve McQueen. You had the knife man, Coburn. You got Freddie Flintoff. He'll always turn, like Brill used to turn to Botham. He will get the best out of Flintoff, but then he can go to Trescothick. He knows how to get the best out of the individual players. He has a great dry sense of humour, Imbers, so he's a good man on tour as well. But to absorb all the pressure and get the best out of the individuals, because it is an individual game in the framework of a team.
And it's a long game.
It's a long game, and when you're in Lahore, Dick will tell you, Karachi, it's dusty and the ball's turning, and you've got a dodgy belly, and old Beef used to run straight off the toilet. I've seen him and Hendo there in India. Delhi belly on, Mr. Borden, put down, off he goes, you know.
The thing with Michael Vaughan, I think, above all, is his mental strength.
Yes.
Especially when he hasn't been scoring runs.
He never got at him. That's a good point, John. When he was in back form, he never won it.
The thing that worries me always about cricket is, you know, there's a famous story of Fred Truman steaming in one day and saying, last effing bowler to be 90 was Francis effing Drake, you know, because bowlers very rarely now made captains. Illingworth is the most famous example.
He was a fine captain.
He was a brilliant captain. And what's more, you don't lose form if you're a bowler when you're captain. No. As a batsman,
you only get one chance.
You only get that one chance. So many captain batsmen become less good batsmen. Vaughan was the best batsman in the world a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Now he's right down there, and I worry about that.
We got footage here of Ponting and Vaughan, the respective captains, and it's quite interesting to compare and contrast the fortunes of the two guys and their body language as well, because it's a key point that you make as well, that I mean, footballers wear a black armband as captain. Beckham wears the black armband as captain, but effectively it's an almost titular position. He doesn't actually do anything. Only in cricket is the captain so fundamental to the framework of the game.
I tell you, John, the England captain at cricket has got the most responsible job of any captain in sport.
He's sports head boy, basically.
He's so much to do. He has to attend all the functions. He has to speak at all functions. Captain the side on the field, off the field. He's got to do all this, and I'll tell you this: it's the most important job there is of any captain in any sport.
You've got to be a diplomat, you've got to be a motivator. Not always the best players aren't always the best captains. Ian Botham was a much better player, as an Viv Richards took over from Clive Lloyd. I wouldn't say he was a great captain, but Michael here has that ability to absorb pressure, get the best out of each
You've got to call your players and get them to come to these sponsor functions now, because we never see this, but half their lives are spent going to different hotels around the world, and the captain's going to say, look, I know you don't feel like it, don't pretend you're ill again, you've got to come, just for 10 minutes, you know. It's really got to be like that.
I mean, England have won 7 of the last 8 matches under Vaughan's captaincy. But it's a lonely place being a captain in a cricket team if things aren't going well, because suddenly people start turning on you. And it's not like they turn on you for 80 minutes or 90 minutes.
One of the things that Buchanan and Warne and all the Australian camp have said, what most impressed them was that England had plans and they stuck to the plans, and the plans nearly all came off. Famously, of course, putting in, you know, Hayden, the mid-off and everything, and him just falling straight for it.
And all the great captains are mentally strong. Beno, Ian Chappell,
tough as old boots,
Illingworth, really Vaughan.
And also, you can tell how the pressure gets to individuals, because we'll come on to the 4th Test match late in a few minutes' time. but when Ponting was out there, the way that he kind of lost his cool, that kind of dignity that he managed to maintain up to that point, was an indication of
the
how
subs
it
at
had got
Bunbury,
to
by the way. Gary Pratt, he's a good lad. He's one of our boys too. Yeah.
Was he really?
Yes, he
The
was.
man who
He
ran
should have gone
Ponting out.
Ponting
Yeah,
with a signed
Pratt.
photograph of
Bunbury,
the run-out and asked him to sign it, shouldn't he?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Is it true that I was told, David, and I think it's worth mentioning this because to indicate how people play in the Bunbury's festival, but it creates a longevity of commitment to you and to the Bunbury Cricket Club, that you had a cricket match, was it earlier this year or last year, Eric Clapton's 11 against Freddie Flintoff's 11,
Yes.
and Bill Wyman and everybody else played in it? Is that
Yeah,
right?
the best example was 2000. I did a game in the memory of Malcolm Marshall, the great West Indian fast bowler. And I had 47 Test cricketers at the HAC ground, Dickie. And Glenn McGrath phoned me up the night before. G'day, Dave. Glenn McGrath here, pitching, mate. How you doing? I said, Glenn, he said, this game tomorrow. How you doing? I said, I've got 47 Test players. I tell you what, mate, you've got 48 now. Phone down and turned up. Now, the Eric Clapton game is saying, I want to get Stephen as a perfect Bunbury, people that love life, and, have a colourful side to them. It was wonderful. We were raising money for NSPCC. We had Bill Wyman. What? Imbers? Yeah, how come you're not a Bunbury?
You're not invited,
He
mate.
could umpire the matches with
No, I
me.
want to get the bowl. I want to get the bowl.
Oh, he wanted to play.
No. Actually, he and Freddie are the same side. But to answer your question, there's a wonderful spirit. I always said Bunbury stands for freedom, stands for fun, stands for ever being young. Do a good turn to others, never turn from your quest, for you are a Bunbury and a Bunbury does your best. Now, whether you're Michael Vaughan, Stephen Fry, Eric Clapton, they've all had that speech. They all get their Bunbury cap, they get their Bunbury colours, and that is the brotherhood. It's D'Artagnan, Aramis and Porthos in one. And let me tell you, Imbers, to this day, they could be playing anywhere in the world. I send them faxes, they send me letters. We all keep in touch. So these boys will come and play in the celebrity games. Once you're in, you can't get out. It's the mafia.
It's Mick Jagger, remember?
Mick Jagger is a member.
He's a very keen
He's
cricketer.
not
Very
bad.
huge cricketer, I know.
Bill Wyman's quite a good player. As is Audley Harrison.
See, one of the things about cricket, people forget, it's so obvious that you don't sort of notice it, but why it's such a pleasant way to spend a Sunday.
Yeah.
With soccer, yes, if you're reasonably fit, you can run around for 90 minutes.
Yes.
With cricket, half the time you spend in the pavilion talking to your friends,
Yes.
talking the game, even on the field.
As we are talking now.
A lot of people don't realise, John, that Mick Jagger introduced Sir Paul Getty to cricket.
And look what he did.
What better way
Into the game.
What better way to spend a morning than talking cricket while a bus wends its way through the streets of
All the way.
London town? Now, I meant what Dickie alluded to him earlier on, and we've been on air for an hour or so now, and we haven't really spoken about, putting nationalism aside, Flintoff's performance is extraordinary, but you could say the dominant figure of this summer has been Shane Warne. I mean, just a truly phenomenal performance. And what supreme irony, Dickie, that he should have been the man to drop the catch yesterday that could have actually taken the Ashes back to Australia.
I saw him start as a young boy on the test scene. I was there when he balled it from my end, which was a magic ball. And this fella, deep down, I did feel sorry for him because he's got 40-odd wickets in this test match. He's bowled magnificently. I would have put my life on Shane Warne taking that catch.
Like that,
I would,
justifying
honestly
the
would.
face.
I would. How he dropped it, I don't know.
It was turn the whole test at one thing.
Yeah.
But this is another great man. I'm saying he had Australia on his back, didn't he? Shane Warne.
Well, he's not the most popular man in Australia for a lot of reasons, and the Australian establishment don't like him very much.
That's why
Because otherwise, he might well have been captain.
He'd have been
let's face
captain
it.
of Australia. He'd have been captain of Australia.
Great
There's
captain
no
of Hampshire.
question.
Yeah.
But let's face
Very
it,
bright.
if you go back 3 or 4 months, the tabloid newspapers were on his case in a big way. And in a sense, it's a huge testimony to his strength of character. Or maybe it acted as an extra incentive for him as well.
Yeah.
That he was able to put that to one side and still play like this.
Sometimes it does help when you go across the boundary line to forget all your other troubles. You focus yourself. Is it the same on the stage, Steve?
Yes, I mean, it's very noticeable. Cricketers always say that it's much more tense sitting in the pavilion than it is standing out there in the middle. And I think, yes, a lot drops away when he's all that nonsense about texting girls and this and that and the other. He's a much brighter man. Just because he's called Shane, a lot of snobbish British people think he must be thick. He's not. He's very intelligent, very charming man. And the sight of him going up to an umpire, taking off his pullover, is one of the most chilling sights in cricket to in English. You know something's going to happen. He makes things happen. And those are the cricketers we most admire.
I mean, what he does, he knows the game inside out. He can read a game. He can read the batsman's weaknesses, and...
Look what he done at Hampshire. Absolutely.
There are the scenes on the streets, all the office workers coming out to celebrate with the England team as they make their way here to Trafalgar Square. And I think one of the men of the moment we can hear from now, and that's Kevin Peterson.
Kevin, we're lying on top of the bus. Fantastic scenes. Just your reaction to all this.
Sensational, stunning. I mean, it just shows how much we've raised the profile of the game in the last couple of months. Fair play to Australia, fair play to England. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing what the sport of cricket is actually done in the country. It's just amazing.
And your reaction, obviously, to yesterday's performance, is it sunk in what you achieved yesterday?
I don't know, well, it's sort of sinking in just seeing the scenes here today. I think it'll probably take a couple of days when I'm by myself to actually sort of reflect and find out exactly how I did it and why I did it, and maybe look back at a bit of coverage, because I haven't even seen the ball that got me out, and it was a pretty good ball.
I mean, you're a confident player. How much pressure were you feeling yesterday? Because you must have known, really, that everything depended on you in that afternoon session. It was a real key inning for England.
Well, yeah, it was. There was a lot of pressure. I knew that I got a load of starts and I hadn't converted. And I knew yesterday was a big day for someone to take over and to show some guts and determination. And this whole England team has got guts, it's got determination. There's a great friendship, there's camaraderie, there's sportsmanship. I mean, you just name it, this England team has got it. And I was just fortunate enough to come off well, pretty well yesterday with 150. I mean, to regain the Ashes. I mean, it's not just me. It's every single bloke on this bus, all the management, the staff, every single person who's contributed to a successful 24 months basically for England. I've only been apart for 12 months, but I mean the last 24 has been pretty spectacular.
See, John, what they've done, they've all chipped in. Every one of those players has actually contributed towards the team effort.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. They're being marvellous.
Just worth saying, I mean, you know, just any old Tuesday in London town as the 14A makes its way down the Strand, and
Tickets, please. Is that a Dalek there?
I think it is a Dalek. Well, it's almost like being in a time warp. The fact that England have actually beaten Australia, isn't it? But,
Marvellous scenes, wonderful scenes, wonderful.
I think, and I mentioned it to David Gower earlier on, but you know, it's very easy to get carried away with these things. You know,
yes.
Cricket is not the new football, nor will it ever be in this country. And you know, tonight the Champions League resumes, and Chelsea are playing Anderlecht and all that sort of stuff. And with the best one in the world, a first-round qualifying game in the Champions League between Chelsea and Anderlecht is going to get a bigger television audience than any of the cricket that's been played throughout this summer. So it's important to sort of always keep these things in perspective. But there has been a palpable shift in the way that people have been able just to talk about cricket in an intelligent way, whereas before they might have heard of Ian Botham, but there's been this huge generation that no one's heard of.
Although we're on the BBC, we have to look at several things, one of which is simply that Sunset and Vine, who covered it for Channel 4, have done a superb job.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Simon Hughes has talked the game through with their jargon busters and various other things. For people who didn't really understand the game before, he makes things clear, which makes it a more exciting game to watch because there's more to look for. If you really understand your cricket, you can suddenly watch half an hour with no runs being scored and be absorbed because you've been shown what to see.
Exactly.
So I think things have really changed in the last 10 years in the broadcasting.
Not because I'm here, but I was a tremendous admirer of the coverage by BBC television.
Yes,
Thanks,
Of the
Dickie.
test matches. I
was a great fan of yours as an umpire as well.
Thanks very much, John. But seriously, I honestly think that BBC.
But
I also think
do
a lot of ladies have got
I do think
involved.
it's worth saying that
Channel 4
Channel
have done a good
4
job.
have taken
They've
it
done a
on to
marvellous
another
job.
level.
Yes.
And Sky will do a great job, and
Yes.
there's always a danger when we have these kind of discussions on terrestrial television that people think we're satellite TV bashing, which we're not at all, because Sky's coverage is brilliant and will be brilliant. But the other factor that people are talking about a lot is whether the fact that next summer, let's face it, England are, well, hopefully, involved in the World Cup finals, and the test series that the England cricket team will be playing will not be as glamorous this summer has been, and suddenly cricket loses its place in the sporting pecking order, and all the matches are only on satellite television, and perhaps suddenly this euphoria gets diminished quite rapidly, Steve.
It is a worry. It could easily happen. Sometimes, in fact, what you see is the extreme size of a bubble that is then going to shrink. I remember, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I remember in the early 70s, people said chess is going to explode after Fisher and Spassky, and then after 1981, there was no real explosion in English cricket in the sense there might have been. Everyone said, "Oh, who's the new Botham?" And as we've just discovered, that you know, it's been 25 odd years really. of waiting for such a moment again.
After the Seoul Olympic Games, when Great Britain won the Olympic hockey gold medal, people said hockey was going to be the next big thing.
That's right.
And a decade later, the sport was bankrupt. So it's important.
But John, to answer your question, euphoria must now go into the schools. People want to be Freddie Flintoff.
But David, it's easy to say that, but how do you put euphoria into the schools where we're not that far? Well, here we are in central London. I think the borough of Tower Hamlets, which is not that far down the road, there's not a single grass-playing cricket pitch in that entire borough. So how do you put cricket into schools, into urban areas where there aren't the facilities?
Well, the coaches are going in as we speak, John. The ECB are sending coaches. There's a thing called Chance to Shine, which is to get comprehensive schools, state schools playing.
It's been a huge success.
Let me tell you, John, there is much more. It's not just private schools that have got, although they haven't made the grounds, but I've done a thing with all the public schools where the headmaster of Eton and Shrewsbury and Upping have all agreed to give their grounds to state schools when they're not being used. The public school system can be very supportive, Stephen, because they're not used all the time.
But huge facilities all summer.
So, for instance, at Eton, Windsor Comprehensive School can use the facilities. So the opportunities are there, John.
But what I've done, John, I've formed the Dickie Burt Foundation for underprivileged children, less privileged, to help them with all sports, where we give grants out, and we're doing as much as we possibly can to help youngsters with cricket, which we've got to do.
Final word, Dickie, from you, because you've been in the game, well, since WG. Is this Test series for you the greatest kind of saga over 2 months that you've ever seen?
Well, of all the Test series that I've umpired many, many. This is the best that I've ever seen. It's been a magnificent series, and if I may just say, it's been the best, definitely, John. It's been played in a wonderful, wonderful spirit. It really has.
Fantastic. Dickie, thanks for your time. Great to see you. And let you go out, and you can join in Jerusalem when they start singing that in about half an hour's time.
Go and jump in the fountain, Dick.
We've shown you the first and second test. Let's move on to the third, which was at Old Trafford in Manchester. And both the captains of this game have been under pressure in advance of this match, but they answered their critics in some style, both scoring more than 150 runs in an innings. But this match, in many ways, was all about Simon Jones. He was tearing into the Australians, 6 wickets for 53, and then rain took care of the third day. Australia had to bat out for a draw, and the series remained at 1 apiece. I mean, even at that point, you kind of felt that it was all building up to a last day denouement, that it was all preordained in that way. And again, we were talking earlier on about the crowds at Old Trafford. Absolutely huge. The crowds at every one of the 5 Test match venues have been immense.
Just on the road for you, isn't it?
I have to say,
just come straight over.
The world of tabs,
middle of a negotiation with Dick Pound on the
absolute
anti-drugs thing.
fiesta throughout the summer. So there's the scene on the streets of London, and here in our studio, our little bus above the stage in Trafalgar Square. I'd like to say the Sports Minister, Richard Cabourn, is here, and Steve had actually mentioned 2 and a bit months ago you were here, or no, you weren't here actually, because you were in Singapore, I think, weren't you?
I was in Singapore, absolutely, yeah.
But anyway, 2 months or so we were all here celebrating getting the Olympics, and we know 24 hours later the mood changed from one end of the spectrum to the other. But here we are back on a joyous note, and this is great from a whole sporting perspective, from a government perspective, from a cricket perspective, from every perspective.
Oh, absolutely fantastic, there's no doubt. But you know, John, it hasn't happened by accident. It's by design. I think we've got to play credit to the ECB, the governing body. I mean, the investment that they've been putting in, first of all, to the national team through central contracts has been very important indeed. You know, I was talking to the women's team that won the Oshes, by the way, against the Australians earlier this season, and they were saying that the academy that's been set up in Loughborough, big investment there, has actually helped them immensely, as it indeed has helped this team. 2020 cricket, I think, has been important, as well as the whole renaissance in the schools as well.
Let me interrupt for a second, because I think we can hear from another of the victorious England players. That's Ashley Giles.
This isn't a normal thing that happens to cricketers, is it?
No, it's not. You know, we see the rugby guys do this when they won the World Cup. We see football teams do this, and we see that on TV and are proud of them. Now it's us. But we're just a good bunch of guys, as I said before. And I'm more chuffed for everyone else on this bus, the whole team. I love these guys. Honestly, they're great, and we fully deserve this.
They've all blossomed together.
Well, Ashley Giles, hugely proud, obviously, to be part of this team, and I think it's worth mentioning after that first Test match,
King of Spain,
where he was under a huge amount of pressure from the public at large, and the media were very, very much on his case, and he came out fighting, didn't he, David English? He said, you know, you're being unfair on us, we will come back and we will win this series.
Yes.
and he stood his ground and an integral part of the team.
Once again, great dressing room support there. The band of brothers would come in there. When they have a go at Ryan Jones about dropping one, they'll be, the boys are there behind him. It's the team thing. And Giant, great, he's a good man.
Here we go with Jerusalem for the first time today behind us, as Trafalgar Square, bit by bit, fills up. We've still got traffic going on, heading down towards Whitehall and Downing Street, where the players will be going immediately after this Trafalgar Square parade. And from Ashley Giles, we can bowl a little bit faster with Steve Harmison.
Well, the biggest laugh on the team bus has been Geraint Jones with a Dalek on his head, but Steve Harmison, you've just got the family with you, and this is a real family occasion for everyone to remember.
It is, yeah. It was important the families were on here. They've been as big a part of this as the players have, to be honest. Obviously, they've got to put up with the moods and everything that goes with the Ashes series, but no, I think obviously it's a lifetime thing, this, and it's a fantastic occasion for everybody on this bus.
Can you believe the level of support here?
No, I can't. I knew it was going to be big. I just said to Billy that I knew it was going to be big, but I didn't think it'd be this big. I knew there'd be a lot of people here, but it's just beyond belief. The whole Ashes series has been beyond belief, and I think obviously what we are experiencing now in Trafalgar Square, I think it's just gone one better.
A fantastic crowds at the ground. I mean, fantastic crowds here. What's it like to be part of it?
It's just been at the end of the day, you play cricket to be the best at what you do, and to play Australia, they're the best team in the world, and to beat Australia, nobody's won the Ashes for 20 years. There's some great names not won the Ashes in English cricket. There's 12 blokes on this bus who can say they've won the Ashes, and at the end of the day, that means everything to me.
Well, what extraordinary scenes. I wonder what the young Harmisons are making of all this, and whether in years to come they will actually say, yes, Daddy, I honestly do remember those scenes in Trafalgar Square and throughout the streets of London. That was our aerial shot, and in fact the bus, I can see looking over my shoulder here that the bus has ground to a halt about 200 yards or so away from us, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to get around that road, because there are people actually blocking its path at the moment. But we have a considerable police presence here, so I'm sure they'll be clearing the crowds at some point. But Trafalgar Square is a sea of red and white as the crosses of St George are waved by, I don't know how many thousands of people there. Richard Cabourn, you're a government minister, you're used to spinning figures. So how many people do you think are out in Trafalgar Square?
I don't know. You're talking what? 200,000, a quarter of a million? You must be getting up to that now, I would think.
It's an awful lot of people.
Right down there, right up there, all the way around here. You must be a quarter of a million, 300,000, I would think you're up to.
And I can only assume that the Barmy Army, who have been in full force at the Oval for the last few days, I assume have taken up a little position where the 30, 40, 50 then, who are the real bedrock of the Barmy Army, will doubtless be singing their hearts out down below us and for the next 18 months.
And the trumpeter.
And the trumpeter.
And the trumpeter, that's right. We had a pretty good trumpeter.
Fine trumpeter.
Yeah.
They've obviously managed to clear the route now, as you can see, because the bus is crawling its way towards us now, and very shortly it will pull up in front of the National Gallery. We've got people in the fountains, which we're normally only used to seeing in London on New Year's Eve. Didn't your government ban people jumping in fountains on New Year's Eve?
I don't think they're bothered about today. There'll be no prosecutions today, John, that's for sure.
Isn't this great?
But this is a fantastic sight.
Fantastic.
I mean, Stephen, with the best of the word, I mean, you spend your life as an entertainer on the stages of the world, and all the world is a stage and all that sort of stuff. But this is one heck of a stage for these guys to perform on, isn't it?
No, they get greater glory than any actor ever would, but they also get greater condemnation. You don't appear in a production and then find the whole cover of a newspaper saying Stephen's shame, whereas you get England's shame. And they get a kind of criticism that no actor or even politician would ever put up with.
I thought for one split second there, some awful tragedy was going to happen when the bus rocked and actually veered 10 degrees or so off the straight line. But anyway, here comes the bus pulling in bit by bit to its position, and very soon the players will all be introduced one by one to the crowd here, and will be interviewed by David Gower and by Mark Nicholas for the benefit of the tens and tens of thousands of people who are out here behind us at the moment. And I know we're obsessed in England with talking about the weather, but thank heavens that it's a day like this. If it had been one of those wretched days like Friday, Saturday that we had at the Oval, it would have put a real dampener on this. But this is London at its best, and it's England at its best in many ways, you could say. I asked Stephen this earlier on, Richard, and I hope you don't mind me asking you as well, because there will be people who say this is an unnecessary kind of jingoism, and we're blowing our trumpet on the basis of, you know, a few cricket matches against a team that were in decline. How would you respond to that?
Not at all. First of all, it's not one match we're talking about. I mean, the England team has been playing together as a squad now for the last, I think, 3 seasons, and really have been building a depth in squad, in depth and in breadth that I think we've not seen for a long, long time. I mean, to put 4 fast bowlers of the quality that we've done this time, I think shows the depth of the team now, and that's, I say, credit due to all the coaching that's going on up and down the country, and the way that the ECB have restructured the whole of the sport. So no, it's not. This is not by chance. This is by design.
But there's a huge responsibility. We said this after the Olympic Games, and there's a huge responsibility on the government to show renewed commitment to sport. There is still a perception in some areas, and I'm delighted to say that we're being joined by Gladstone Small from the Professional Cricketers Association to talk about how cricket needs to capitalise on this moment. But there is still a breadth of opinion within the country that the government is kind of just playing at its commitment to sport. Here's further evidence of how this enthusiasm has to be harnessed for the future.
Oh, very much so, and that's why, again, working with the governing body and the schools now, that we've got very clearly a scheme operating with cricket. I see David Morgan down there and David Collier. Both of those are working with us, linking the clubs to school and schools to clubs, which is very important, not just in cricket, but in all those sports. And we will see that.
No more sports grounds being sold. That's the key.
Stephen, we've been doing that not for this last 12 months, for the last 2 years. So that is important. How are you? Okay.
I mentioned the fact that Gladstone Small has joined us here, and before yesterday, Gladstone Small was in many ways the man who won the Ashes the last time England won it, because he took the crucial catch to secure victory in 1987. You're now involved, Glad, with the Professional Cricketers Association, yes, and in a sense we're not reinventing the wheel here, but we've mentioned on several occasions how extraordinary these scenes are and how great it is for the sport. But it falls to the PCA as well, doesn't it, to ensure that this enthusiasm is not allowed to falter and that you carry on the work.
Right, very much so. It's for the whole community of cricket, right down from the top, the administrators, the governments are involved, through to the players, all the way down through to the clubs. So it's the whole community of cricket that needs to embrace this moment. We've been given a fantastic opportunity by a wonderful side. It's this England cricket team and what they've achieved yesterday at the Oval and throughout the summer. So we in cricket really need to be proactive.
But the very nature of cricket is you need quite a big space to play it. You know, if next summer Tim Henman, unlikely, but say Andrew Murray suddenly blitzes Roger Federer in the final at Wimbledon, and suddenly the LTA say, hey, we have got a superstar, a stellar superstar, and we will give a tennis racket to every child in every school in the country. That's kind of an easy thing to do, because all you've got to do is give them a tennis racket and a pair of trainers. Yeah. Cricket is not as easy as that. No. So how do you, team sport's not as easy as that, so how do you go about maintaining that momentum?
There are ways. I mean, this year, a colleague of mine, I don't know if you've been for the Chance to Shine program, that's been instituted by the Cricket Foundation through the ECB, and an ex-colleague of mine at the PCA and ex-Warship, a guy called Wazin Khan, now runs that program, and that was instituted this year at 12 what's called focus clubs. And okay, we know that I didn't play much in schools, John. The school I went to back in the 70s, I played 2 games of cricket, but I was picked up by a local club, and that's where the focus is being driven to the local clubs, and then the schools around that focus club then they will all be branched out and be involved in the game. So that it's going to be the clubs, players, and then we go up to the schools to draw the schools
and that's very
to the clubs.
See, what's been said there is we've now got the partnerships in school, the 400 partnerships, which linking 1 sports college, 8 secondaries, 30 primaries, and the ECB are actually putting people in, like the professional players, into those schools, and the key to it is club to school linked. Yeah. Those clubs are vitally important to us. We've got 3,500, I think it is, cricket clubs up and down this country, and we need to make those more proactive, linking them to the schools, and and then we've got a sustainable structure, and that's what we're looking for. Because if you're going to bring the Michael Vaughan, who's actually from Sheffield, by the way, a Yorkshire captain, if I may say so, then obviously that's important, I think, to make sure those club-to-school links are actually there.
The London Tourist Board must be loving these pictures, because if these pictures are being sent around the world, it's certainly showing this city at its magnificent best. I gather the players will be coming off the bus in the next minute or so, and after that, Mark Nicholas and David Gower will be introducing all the members of the squad, and the women's squad, of course. Don't forget Claire Connor's team won the women's Ashes as well, to the crowd here. And I'm sure the Army will then break into their extensive songbook to entertain us for the next half hour or so. Sport. It's very hard. I don't know how on earth one ever... when you've got a pot that's so big and you've only got so much money, how you decide how much goes into health, how much goes into education, how much goes into transport, how much goes wherever. But sport is in there somewhere, isn't it?
Sport's very much in there, John. I mean,
so how do events like this and the Olympic bid, does that make you and genuinely other people in the government think that slice of the cake needs to be expanded just a little bit?
Well, it's my job to do that, John, and my job is to convince health. It's far better to prevention rather than...
First time in more than 16 years. Ledson, you played in that winning series back in the 80s, and the rivalry between England and Australia is very, very different and very separate to any other sporting contest. So how much sweeter would it have been for Michael Vaughan and his team as they come down to the stage now to have beaten Australia? It's so much more important, isn't it, to beat the Aussies?
It certainly is. I mean, this as a youngster, growing up, you're well aware of the one game that you have to play. It's the Ashes match. It's important when you play against the other countries. It's the one when you're a 5 or 6 year old boy, you're playing in your back garden. You're always playing against Australia. And there's no other country you play against. And so that's why it's so important, because it's ingrained in you.
And bit by bit, every player comes. Peterson, Trescothick, Flintoff, Strauss, Jones, Vaughan, Jones, Giles, Bell, Harmison, Collingwood and Hogarth. And it's worth actually considering that England only used 12 players in this series. And in a sense, that's another reason for the success, isn't it? The consistency of selection, only using a dozen players, meant the players had confidence in themselves and also those players around them.
These guys play as Club England. They play. There's not a bunch of guys who just come together.
Okay, let's go down to the stage and David Gower.
It's been a long night. It's been not too much sleep, as you can imagine. We've celebrated in true English fashion, but this is fantastic. Thank you so much for the support, not just today, but throughout the whole summer. The team have been magnificent, the management have been magnificent, but these lot have been even better.
Did you ever dream you were going to be here at Trafalgar Square with a crowd which must be 100,000 in front of you?
It's just incredible. I think the game of cricket have captured the nation, and it just shows you when England play well at any sport, our supporters are the best in the world.
Now tell me this, given that the last time England had the Ashes, you were, dare I say it, only a child, is this a childhood dream?
Well, you have dreams when you grow up, and you have May, June this year, we had a lot of dreams, and incredibly it's come to reality, but the players deserve a lot of credit, and the management have put a lot of hard work in, but this is just fantastic. This is beyond a dream, to be honest.
Duncan, you're the management. A lot of hard work, Michael says, has gone into this over the years, a lot of planning.
Yes, David, you can put in a lot of planning, but at the end of the day, you've got to have players who can do the business. And I think the supporters have seen we've got some really talented players here. and they must be very proud of their cricketers, and I still think they can improve and we can bring home some more trophies.
Do you know, you nearly smiled there.
Thanks very much, Dave.
It's been great. Well done to you both. Congratulations, Michael Vaughan and Duncan Fletcher.
And over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to try to unravel the story, the one that brought the Ashes home. To do so, we have to go to July the 21st at Lord's, and remember that at that stage there was terrifying optimism going into the game. I'm afraid it turned to tears.
Michael Vaughan leads out England. Listen to this.
Well, while the crowd here in Trafalgar Square are watching those moments from that first Test match at Lord's, which was actually, Stephen, were you there? Have you gone?
I was at Lord's. I was at the Oval. Yeah.
That first day was almost the most remarkable first day of Test cricket I can ever remember, really, because I was talking to Rodney Hogg, the Australian fast bowler, at tea time, who was in a state of complete despair because, you know, Australia had been just turned over in such an extraordinary manner. And while we were talking, they turned the TVs down in the hospitality area we were in. And when they switched them back on again, I think England lost 3 wickets. And that almost set the tenor for the entire series, didn't it?
It was unbelievable. I mean, I was funny enough sitting with Ross Edwards, who was a great Australian Test cricketer himself. And when we saw the Harmison really getting in and touching them up, as they like to say, tickling them under the chin, I thought this is going to be a great summer. And then, like everybody else, I'm afraid that superstitious, pessimistic part of me, as the days unwound, I thought, oh, here we go again. Somehow the Australians have still got this thing over us, this hex. But for all that we lost quite dramatically at Lord's, there were still things like Peterson's innings. There was still the fact that we never looked as if we were cowed. And of course, Peterson also dropped Clark twice when he went on to score 91. Well, you know.
Okay, well, Andrew Strauss is down behind me now, and he's with Mark Nicholas.
Summer, how was the dressing room yesterday?
We were awful, to be honest, and it's been like that for 5 tests non-stop. It's been a nightmare to be part of, but we sit here today and we see all these guys here, and thank you very much for making this a very special day for all of us.
Ian, I guess for you to be picked in something so enormous at Lord's at the start of the summer was the real thrill.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to be here, you know, playing 7 Test matches this summer, and you know, you sit here now and just look at this, it's just unbelievable.
And what about the intensity of the Australians? When you get out of the middle and bat, neither of you had played against them before in a Test match. Did it surprise you?
Yeah, they hit us pretty hard, and we kind of expected that, but we just thought once we got on top of them, it would be all right, but they just kept coming back time after time after time. It's pretty draining to be part of, but as we said before, this just makes it all worthwhile for us.
Thank you, fellas. Back to you, David.
The ladies are behind me as well. They're celebrating their first Ashes win for a long time as well, and many congratulations to them. But as far as the gentlemen's Ashes were concerned, the next Test match was in Birmingham, so it was on to Edgbaston for a real thriller.
Well, here are some of the best moments coming up of the second Test match, which, as we were talking about earlier on, that Ricky Ponting must bitterly regret the decision he made when he won the toss and put England into bat. But this match also indicative, Gladstone, about the attitude of the England team, because if you allow the Australians to ride roughshod over you, they will do just that. So in terms of having that kind of commitment and determination, it seemed that there was a will within this England team that perhaps previous ones hadn't quite had.
And that's why a lot of the credit for this performance and the players, first to say, should be accredited to Duncan Fletcher. He's really thorough. He's a great planner. There's lots of background stuff that goes into the performance. It's not just going out there and doing it. And what he's good at doing is making sure the players are ready to execute what's been discussed. And but going into the Edgbaston Test match after Lord's, and in the past, the Aussies would have ride roughshod over us, saying that they're great when you give them a lead. They're, like everything else, they're good front runners, good bulliers. And Matthew Hayden, he epitomises how they play. Glenn McGrath, they're going to beat you 5-0. It's all very much part of the mental process. And if you let that get on top of you, you're beaten. But these England guys never let that get on top of them. They knew they were good enough to come back.
While Jones and Harmison are interviewed on the stage behind us, I think it's worth introducing to you from our studio here on the bus above the stage, Mr. Rory Bremner. How the devil are you?
I'm well. What a fantastic day. This is terrific. Picking up what Gladson was saying, I did a testimonial dinner for Michael Vaughan at the beginning of the season, and I spoke to him for a couple of minutes, and I said, you know, as a cricket supporter, this is wonderful. For 20 years, you know, we've been wanting a side to do this. And he said the one difference is whenever they're in a crisis, whenever they've got a problem, whenever there's a panic on, he looks around the dressing room, he said, and there's a dressing room full of people who just can't wait to get out there and take on the situation. And he said that's the difference. You've got 11 players who will stand up and do it. And it's just a wonderful time to be here. It really is.
And it's of course worth saying, I mean, you are steeped in cricket, and your one and only top 20 hit was doing a cricket impression, wasn't it?
It was a long time ago. It was using the voice of Benno. Brian Johnson is going on. I hope Brian Johnson would love this moment. I mean, it wasn't quite. He didn't quite get the winning moment yesterday. We were deprived of the winning moment because you want to see the winning run scored or the winning wicket. That's where the umpires look at the light meter and Brian Johnson saying, and they look at the light meter now, 2.8, 2.9. That's it. That's the Ashes. But yes, it was the cricket commentators. It was all those years ago, and in those days it was true. The average score of the England batsman was 19. I don't know what it is this year, but I think it's a lot better than that.
Certainly is.
I can tell you that Peterson averaged 52.5.
He topped. Richie's last moment came actually as Peterson lost his wicket. It was rather extraordinary.
It's like that John Bradman moment. What I love is because the game is bigger than anybody in it. And when Bradman went out to bat in his last innings, he just needed one, I think, to get an average of 100, and he was out. And there was Richie Benno, just quietly coming to the end of his career. He thought, I'll sneak it in. So and it's been a lot of fun. And at that moment, Peterson was out. So once again, the game was bigger than anybody involved. And Richie would have appreciated that as much as anyone else. He just thought, I'll bow out quietly. But that doesn't happen in cricket, not now.
No, indeed.
Except it's all changed now. It's pay up, and watch the game.
We're showing one or two moments from the third Test match, which obviously finished in a draw, and so everything was very finely balanced at that point. Richie Benno has been an extraordinary figure. I know it's kind of one of your staple impressions, Rory, but been an extraordinary figure that has transcended cricket, that everybody, even if they don't know the names of the players, they know Richie Benno.
They know Richie, and it's, I was saying this the other day, that his observation, his eyesight, I mean, he will say, you know, as the moment the ball was released there, I've got a feeling that down at deep fine leg, the man there was missing an eyelash. And how did he see that? How did he notice that? But his in fact, all of the commentary team, I think it'll be very sad if this commentary team sort of breaks up, because that's been part of the summer as well, I think, the coverage. But Benno, I mean, he's acknowledged by the players as the master, because I think there is a dignity. He knows what to say, when to say it. He always says, engage your brain before you open your mouth, and that's a very, very good, wise philosophy.
We're seeing highlights of the third Test match to the backdrop of Oasis. That's one of those kind of random thoughts that comes into mind. I wonder if Noel and Liam are cricket fans. Do you know?
I think everybody's a cricket fan now. But I think even the Prime Minister, I'm sure, will say, you know, I think it's a fantastic game. And you know, I sometimes look at cricket and see, well, it's, you know, 11 people against 2, and I think it's a bit unfair, really. But there you go.
Let's head back down to the stage and go back to Mark Nicholas.
Your imprint on the series with the bat at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it was nice to score a few runs, and
fantastic.
You know, it was nice to create a positive environment where the team went and played a real positive game after going 1-0 down. I think the first day at Edgbaston was a key to go out and play in that manner. To bat first in the last 4 games was very nice. Players were fantastic.
Simon, you suffered a terrible injury in Australia. What a great opportunity it was for you to come back in the side and prove to Australians that you could bowl.
Yeah, it was nice to play against them again. Obviously I missed out then, and I try to make up for it now, and the series has gone well for us. We've obviously beaten them 2-1, and there we are, we've done them. We have done them.
What's there's champagnes in that one.
A night time of champagnes. Was Old Trafford the time you really started to believe, do you think, as a unit, that you could do this?
I think we believed at the beginning of the summer that we could win, and we went 1-0 down, and I think the strength of the team is the character of which they show when the challenges are set upon them, and There's been challenges set upon us from the one day, straight to the test match to go 1-0 down. We went to Edgbaston knowing that we had to play well. The first day was always going to be crucial, and the guys responded fantastically well.
Simon, we tend to hear from the captain a lot. Tell us a bit about him, because he's done an awesome job.
He's a great skipper. He's the easiest I've played under. He's easygoing. He chats you about anything, and you don't feel under pressure, you know what I mean? When Nassau, he's intense and this and that, but Vaughan, he's different.
We can see how relaxed he is now. He's got a new friend. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Simon Jones and Michael Vaughan and a mate.
Well, let's not forget this has been a double Ashes winning summer for both England's teams, the gentlemen and the ladies right behind me. The last time the ladies won the Ashes was, dare I say it, a long time ago, 1963. These were the winning scenes at Worcester as they took the second test match, thereby taking the series 1-0 after a courageous draw. Real fight-back draw at Hove in the first one. And they were the first team celebrating just before that Trent Bridge test match that, of course, the gentlemen played so well in as well. So great scenes for the ladies. And we need Claire Connor. Claire, come up. We'll get all the girls up. Girls, come on. All come round, please. Come on. Yeah, don't worry, you don't have to talk. Bring them all on. Come on. It's a fabulous summer for everyone. You can be part of this limelight as well. Yeah, look at the smiles. Claire, that was fabulous. Well done.
Thanks, David. Yeah, just the most unbelievable last month for us. And to be part of today and to feel that pride driving through the streets of London with these guys on an open-top bus has just been the stuff of dreams.
When you won that game at Worcester, you said after that you hoped this would be an inspiration for the men. That's the way it's proved.
Well, I said as well that I didn't think they needed any more inspiration than the way they were playing themselves, but you know, it's just great to be part of it. It's great to be celebrated like this in our capital city, and to feel part of something so special in English sport. You know, we were talking about watching the Rugby World Cup and how they drove through the streets of London and how they
mind the emotion.
How they were received in the streets, and this has just been, you know, as I say, the stuff that memories are made of.
We know the pressure's on now because you've got to keep them for the next 42 years as well.
Yeah, I know, it's well, hopefully none of us will be playing in 42 years' time, but we've broken the hold that Australia had over us, the same as, you know, the guys in the last 10 years, and hopefully we can continue to stay number one.
Brilliant, well done, congratulations to the England ladies.
What a performance by the girls. Of course, we were now at a stage of the summer where we wondered if that one wicket that England failed to take at Old Trafford might be very costly. We edged towards Trent Bridge. By now, Freddie was king.
Those are the winning runs for England in this fourth test match at Trent Bridge.
Paul Collingwood is here, and the two heroes of Trent Bridge, Ashley Giles and Matthew Hoggard. You made 7 and you made 8. They're the most important 15 runs of your lives. But what I want to know was there a plan, or was it just go out and smack it?
No plan. It was hoggy-faced Brett Lee, and I'll take on the might of Shane Warne. But he deals with the pace quite well, to be honest.
You did deal with Brett Lee dead easy, Matthew, dead easy.
I won't say it was dead easy. It was quite a frightening experience, and at the Oval he was gritting his teeth and bowling the fastest I've ever faced. So actually, again, faced Brett Lee, and as soon as Brett Lee was on the other end, Shane Warne came on. So it was nice one, Ashley.
At this stage, of course, you'd have been sat behind the sofa at home like the rest of us. Did he have any inclination that you might get your part of the dream too?
Not at all, to be honest. Sitting at home, I was like the rest of you, just so nervous watching all the games. Everything was so tense. But when I got the call, that's when I believed. I thought, oh, I could be involved in playing in the big one.
And Ashley, listen, after Lords, you got a bit of stick and you stood up for yourself in the press and you told him I could play a bit.
Yeah, I think now it might have been justified. All I said was this team can play some good cricket. We're a bloody good cricket team, and I think we've shown that in the last 4 games. I love these guys, they're brilliant.
Hoggy, these are the glorious summer days of our lives, aren't they?
I just can't believe it. The people that have turned up today is fantastic. The country has absolutely gone cricketing mad, and it is great for the game.
Ashley Giles, Matthew Hogarth and Paul Collingwood.
Well, that set it up, of course, for an extraordinary finale. Now, I hardly need to tell you, England went to the Oval needing a win. That would be fantastic. A draw would certainly be good enough. Dare I say it, rain for 5 days would have kept them very happy indeed, but that's not what we wanted. We ended up with another spine-tingling contest.
Everything is at stake. England have not held the Ashes for 16 years and 38 days.
Well, it was a fabulous day yesterday. The Ashes secured by England, the 2 heroes of the series and of the match, Kevin Pietersen and Andrew Flintoff. And I can tell you that standing here, the one thing I know is you've both had a fabulous night.
Most certainly, David. I think I speak for myself. I'll let Freddie speak for himself if he can muster a few sentences together. But it's been fantastic. I mean, everybody out here, the millions of people that have watched and the profile we've raised over the last couple of months, I mean, it's been spectacular. And we just thank every single person. I mean, every single bloke, including the Australians who've played in this series. Absolutely spectacular. Cricket's definitely the winner.
Do you know, I knew you wouldn't struggle to speak. How did yesterday feel for you? Come on, hey, you've been fantastic. How did yesterday feel for you? It was a brilliant knock.
Yeah, I'm really I'm very happy on a personal level, but it's all about the 22 players, 23, 24 players who've taken part, and including this big man. Yeah. Everybody cheer Freddie on, come on.
Let's cheer him. Andrew Flintoff, man of the series, man of the night by the look of it. That was brilliant, well done.
Yeah, it's been a great series. If I'm being honest with you, David, I'm struggling.
Trust me, people are just happy to see you.
Not a bit bed yet. Behind these glasses tells 1,000 stories. It's been It's been an absolute marathon, you know. We played against these Australians, and for the past 5 weeks, it's been a mammoth series. The emotional roller coaster that we've been through, it's just been fantastic that we've come out on top and we're enjoying it.
What's been outstanding too, not just your performances and the team's performances, but also the sportsmanship that we've seen from both sides through the series.
Yeah, it's been great, you know. We played against a great Australian side, which is full of world-class performers. When you're playing against people like Shane Warne, Brett Lee, Glenn McGrath, you're in for a battle. But I think the one thing that stood out for England was that every time a performance was needed, one of our guys stood up to the plate. It's been a real team effort. Each and every one of us has played a part in this Test series.
Now, you must be looking forward to the next time you get to meet them as well.
I've got this World Over game in about 2 weeks' time. I can't think of nothing worse, to be honest. We'd like a few weeks off, but, you know, it's been a great series. As I said, a roller coaster of emotions. But, you know, we've come out, we've played cricket, we've played some good cricket, and we're just going to enjoy this now.
It's been brilliant. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Many, many congratulations to two of the biggest heroes that have played cricket for England for a long, long time.
Let's bring all the guys forward, all the England team onto the stage. Ladies, you come as well. Come forward. Just moments to go in the celebrations that reflect this staggering victory in the Ashes. Almost a rebirth of cricket in this country, and the joy is seen before us. Thousands and thousands of people loving the fact that they've entertained us and we've rejoiced in them. So, we ask you all one last time this summer, with the England cricket teams that have brought us this success. Are you ready to sing Jerusalem? Then let's sing!
I don't know the words. Andrew Strauss has made a fantastic century here.
Well, 3 nights after the last night of the proms, I suppose we could almost call that the last lunchtime of the poms.
Look.
As all this ticker tape, I don't know if we're on camera at the moment, but you can see all the ticker tape coming straight in through the window behind us. Final thoughts, just quickly to you, Rory. Sorry, I was going to say Richie, and I said no, Rory. The great thing about the last few weeks has been, it's okay, it's cricket, but it's been a remarkable human drama, hasn't it?
I mean, I think everyone picks up that moment when Australia lost by 2 runs at Edgbaston, and Andrew Flintoff, the first thing he did was that wonderful photograph of him and Brett Lee, and right through the game, right to the last minute, even when things were at most tense, they looked like they were enjoying themselves, and there was a real camaraderie between the sports. I mean, it's great to see both the men and women's cricket team out here as well. There's been a tremendous sense of fair play and camaraderie and sport. I mean, sport, from the beginning of the summer, we knew sport would be the winner, but we didn't quite realise how much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jill, thank you very much for coming. I'm going to have to say thanks for your time. And Steve, it's been great having you with us for the last couple of hours or so. It has been a privilege. You put it rather more poetically, but anyway, it has been a privilege for us all to be here as the Barmy Army are in full swing behind us. The players now going to leave here and they're going to head off to Downing Street for a reception with Tony Blair. Then they're going on to Lord's to officially receive the Ashes. And as we're now kind of in the habit of parades, perhaps we should make a habit of being here next year in the second week of July to celebrate England's victory in the World Cup. Well, I should put that in pencil. For the moment, though, today belongs to the men who've put Sven and Bex in the shade. It belongs to Freddie and his Dreamers. Bye-bye.